What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, and this is another episode of the Facts Project. Today, special guest, Newton Lilavois of Dream Fury Comics. We are going to be talking about Kisha Demon Eater. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be back on.
Yeah.
Our last conversation was with TJ Stern for Villainous. And this one, I'm looking forward to too. Talk about Kisha Demon Eater.
And first and foremost, I mean, you are the author of this great book right here, Crescent City Monsters, which is, of course, has been highly acclaimed, multiple Glyph Award winner, and as well Ringo nominated as well. So kudos to you, brother.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, so yeah, Crescent City Monsters. That's my first baby. Love the series. It takes a lot of effort on my behalf to write the story, because it's so layered, and it fits the story. So I enjoy writing it because it's a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
Because if you've read the story, it's got like so many characters and so many subplots, and so it's like keeping track of it and making sure that everything makes sense, and that eventually people kind of get a sense that okay, things are going to start, that these subplots are start going to combine into one, and then boom, the story is going to start kicking off. So that's the but with that said, Kisha, the story of Kisha is layered too, but not as layered as Crescent City Monsters. There's not all these moving subplots and parts. It's it's a lot simpler. It's really interesting because it's different than Crescent City Monsters.
Well, yeah, you did choose the same artist, so basically your collaboration with Gian Carlo Bernal has unfolded from Crescent City Monsters to Kisha Demon Eater.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been this partnership, one because of the intricacy of the artwork as well as the writing that's involved. The fact that you've chosen within this book and now with Kisha doing it in grayscale.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one thing, of course, the writing, of course, sets it apart. Last time with Crescent City Monsters, of course, we got this backstory setting of early jazz era New Orleans. And with this story, we now explore African mythology.
Yeah, so we explore, I guess I should go into a little bit of the backdrop story, right? So
yeah,
what happens is I'm trying to figure out the best way to start the story. So so instead of the plot itself, I'll start with how the story came about, right? So the way it came about is I was doing some research for another story, and I was researching African demons, and then I came upon this one demon that was featured in an Angolan myth, right? And the demon's name was Kishi, right? And when I read about the demon, I was like, yo, this guy is so crazy, right? He's like, he's a demon, and he's got like a regular head, and he's got a handsome face to seduce women, right? But on the other side of his head, he's got this hyena, right? On the back of his head, right?
A hyena?
Yeah. So he's got a regular face, and then he's got a hyena, and he seduces these women. He's up to no good, right? So he impregnates them, and he kills them off as soon as they give birth to his demon children, right? But when I read about that, I was like, yo, this is like, you hear about demons, right? But you don't hear them do things like that, right? Usually it's just pretty straightforward. They go and kill. They don't, impregnate women and then have their babies and then kill them. So I was like, this guy is vicious. And then I was, asked myself, well, what if this guy, the children that he has is all sons, right? So he has all these demon sons, but what if one day one of these demons ends up to be a female, right? And he's like, he hates that, so he hates his daughter, right? So I'm like, he's a demon, so what else? So he's like, so he hates his daughter, right? And he like casts away, but and his daughter's name is Kisha, right? Because his
Right.
name is Kishi, so her name is Kisha, and so she instead of like instead of like being hurt by his feelings, she's kind of maniacal, right? She's crazy.
Mm.
She's like, that's my dad. I still love him, and I want his attention. So
Mhm.
she figures, you know what I'll do? I'll eat my brothers, and when all of them are gone, he has no choice but to love me, right? So,
Mm.
so that's what I'm thinking, right? And so she starts eating her brothers, and she's a pretty powerful demon. She's more powerful than her brothers,
Mhm.
as it turns out. And so she's able to eat her brothers, and then her father comes along because he's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And so he imprisoned her, he entraps her, and so she's like trapped for hundreds of years, right?
Right. And until she falls upon a young girl who's also named Keisha, correct?
Keisha, yeah, who's also named Keisha. So what happens is Keisha, New Orleans, present day regular girl from New Orleans, 16-year-old, she accidentally releases Demon Keisha.
So what does she find? Like Pandora's box? Like
Yeah, I don't want to
okay, all
tell too
right,
much of that,
gotcha.
but she accidentally releases the demon, and so the two Keishas merge, right? You have Keisha and Demon Keisha, and so they merge, and as a result, Keisha, regular Keisha, inherits like her thirst for eating demons. So
Mm.
that's how she becomes Keisha the Demon Eater, right? So
Oh,
she eats, she still has that appetite for eating demons. And so when she's possessed, she becomes possessed, and then at the same time, a demon hunter, because Demon Keisha is so powerful, she attracts the attention of a demon hunter, and the
right.
demon hunter starts chasing down Keisha, and so her family's like, okay, we need to send you away. We have this there's an estranged aunt, right? The family doesn't talk about her. She's like the black sheep of the family, and they're like, we don't really like her. We haven't talked to her for a while, but she is the only one in the family who can help you exorcise this demon. So
Right.
they
And
send Keisha.
she lives in Kansas, right?
Yeah, she lives in Kansas. So Keisha is like, her life changes, right? Not only is she's possessed by a demon, but now she has to uproot, leave her friends, and makes this new temporary life in Kansas with an aunt who she doesn't even know. And so she gets there. It turns out that her aunt and the town is like the worst thing ever. So
Really?
yeah, so it's like she encounters, like, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but I guess you can tell by the title of the story, right? Demon Eater, that she does encounter demons there in the towns.
Mm-hmm.
So she has to reevaluate her like relationship with the demon now. She's like, well, I need this demon to stay alive so I can so I can get out of here
Mm-hmm.
safely. So she has to like keep the demon instead of exercising the demon. She ends up keeping it, and then but Kisha the demon is really maniacal. She's crazy. She has these thoughts that doesn't make any sense. It's like having the Joker in your head, and
Oh my
so like
God.
and occasionally just like controlling you. So she has to kind of come to terms with that, and so that's where the story picks up.
Yo, that's crazy. And even so, like we're thinking of this as, a quintessential horror comic that we're used to from you, with Crescent City Monsters and even with this. But the way it's basically read in and summarized is that it's a story of acceptance of your parents.
Yeah, it's crazy because I'm glad you brought that up because it's gonna be I don't really talk about this when I explain the story, especially like during the Kickstarter page because there's a lot to uncover and kind of reveal. But what I can kind of reveal is, and I'm glad you kind of touched on it, is there's gonna be like a like a father kind of a father daughter kind of theme to it too, because Keisha Demon Eater, she has this one issue with her father, and Keisha, she has to deal with these internal issues that she has with her father that she never really
Mm.
understood or even explored. But it wasn't until Demon Keisha comes out and she's like nagging her and asking her these questions like, well, why do you think this and this? And then,
Mhm.
forcing Kisha to think about these things that she never thought about, in relation to her father. And
Mhm.
so, it's going to try to show parallels between Kisha Demon's father, right? And then Keisha's father too. So it's gonna kind of like show like, like there's some overlapping with that and some things. And the thing too is Kisha Demon thinks that they were meant to be, not
Right.
only do they have the same names, but they have so many similarities. She's like, don't you see that we're supposed to be? So she really doesn't want to let Kisha go,
Right.
so she'll do almost anything to keep Kisha with her because she feels like they're like kindred spirits.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Because literally, I think when I was reading the bylines, I was like, "Yo, this is a dope ass story." When
Mm.
it's as far as like the meaning of acceptance from either any type of relationship, whether it's from daughter to father, or whether it's from
Mhm.
mother to son, or vice versa. Another thing that was brought out is that your daughters were actually inspiration for this book.
Yeah, yeah. So and that's the thing too. So the reason I even thought about the daughter part was because I wanted to create a female character, right? Because
Mhm.
my daughters, they've read my book Crescent City Monsters, but they're like, oh, this is good, dad, and then they like walk away. It's like it's not like they're like, oh, this is this is so dope, dad. I love the story. I mean, it's like they read it, they're like, all right, cool. you know, they they walk away. So I was like, yo, how could I want them to, I want to create a story where they like, they look at me and just go, okay, dad, you got this one.
Uh-huh.
I was like, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna create this female character, and she's gonna be young around their age, and so I wanted to have them kind of like relate to her, like, and if they wanted to cosplay her, they could, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that was one of the things. So I was like, all right, let's create a character, and then I wanted to create a character too that was unique, that just wasn't like any other character out there. It's funny that I say that because after I created the look of, oh well, I had Jean create the look of Kisha, I was like, damn, there's a lot of I started seeing other female comic book characters with the puffy hair. I
Yeah.
was like, that's when I first started noticing. I was like, okay, but she's unique in the look with the school uniform, because I wanted something when
Right.
I told Gene, I was like, yo, I want contrast, right? I love doing contrast, right? I was like, so if you're a demon eater, you expect to look a certain way, right? You're gonna be badass. Like you're gonna have all these gear, you're gonna maybe have like a sword, and you're
Mhm.
gonna have some ninja outfit or something, some dope uniform or something. So I was like, yo, let's flip it and just put her in school uniform. I mean, like how more like
Right.
innocent than that, so I was like, let's do that. And of course the coincidental like afro puff,
Mhm.
look for the black girl. And then I was like, that contrast of being a demon eater but not looking like it,
Yeah.
to me I thought was dope. And and I think that's one of the reasons why the first image of Kisha, when she's wiping her mouth with the moon in the background,
Mhm.
but she's also holding like a demon hand, kind of like resonates with people because when you see that, you've never seen something like that before. That kind of contrast,
Yeah.
and so I think that was part of the appeal too.
Definitely, man. Now I remember not too long ago you was like you wasn't thinking about doing horror again. Like after Crescent City Monsters, you were like but inevitably, it just came right back to you.
Yeah, 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 it did. It's funny because I'm not so I'm not really like a horror person. Don't tell people that because they're gonna be
Good
like,
word.
oh man, this guy writes horror books, but he's not a horror person. Not that I don't watch horror, but that's like it's not my thing. Like I'm not,
Mhm.
don't start quizzing me on like horror movies. I'm
Right,
like,
right.
I don't watch a lot of horror movies. What I do like though is like really good stories, and so like I don't really mind what genre it is, just as long as the story, I enjoy writing the stories, so um that's to me the motivation of everything, right? It's not really the genre. So and the one thing is like, so like, I wrote Villainous with TJ
Yep.
Sci-Fi, so I was like, all right, cool. I was like, now, I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna show a little bit of my versatility, just put it out there. And then of course, like you said, then I go back to horror. But I didn't mind because, like I said, the story itself, I was really excited about the story. I wrote the story a lot quicker than I wrote Crescent City Monsters.
Mm.
It just like, it was like, I was just like, oh, and then this and this. I guess it's easier because, like I said, it's not as layered, and I'm
Yeah.
focusing on just like really one character. Because if you read Crescent City Monsters, the main character Jonas,
Yeah.
he's not in a lot of the scenes.
It's true.
Like, there's so many scenes he's not in, right? But in Kisha Demon Eater, it's different. It's flipped. Like Keisha's almost in every page.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty much like a first person book from what I understand. It's like Keisha, all of this derives around Keisha and what's basically inside of her. So most of the talks that are happening are between Keisha the demon and Keisha, you know.
yeah, and what Keisha experiences and everything, which is your typical story when you think about it, right? Like a book about Wolverine will be in every page.
Oh yeah,
you know,
for
um,
sure.
yeah. So Keisha is no different than that. Which is, like I said, which for me it was like kind of different because I was used to writing Crescent City Monsters, which was the opposite. Like the main character Jonas, like isn't there many scenes where he's not in there,
Yeah.
um, even though the story is about him, which was interesting. And I didn't really, I kind of realized that towards the end when I was writing Crescent City Monsters. I was like, man, I was like, this main character is like
Mhm.
is not always there.
Mm.
I think he only takes like maybe 1/3 of the book or something. But that makes the story interesting. And on the flip side, the way Keisha is written, it makes it interesting because there's so many things that needs to be explored and like slowly revealed. I'm the type of writer, I try to I'm more of like I like the slow reveal kind of person. I
Yeah.
don't want to try to reveal too many things too quickly. So I like to build up. So sometimes, I'll try to pace it in a way that, even though like the first volume explores a lot, there's still a lot more to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, is that more than likely the reason that you opted for this not to be a single issue, 20 regular 22, 23 pages, and that you decided to make this a graphic novel? It's sort of in the same essence as Villainous when you did it with TJ. Like that was going to come out as a graphic novel first, more than anything. And now Keisha is just
Yeah.
strictly boom, volume 1 right there.
Yeah. That's one of the things too, because I was because one of the I was reading a graphic because I was looking at the way, like, so there's, you have trades, right? And
Yeah.
trades collects issues 1, 2, 3 to one, usually collect like 3 to 5 issues in the trade, right? And so trades are written differently than graphic novels to me, like, not because I was looking at I was reading one of the graphic novel, Joe Hill's graphic novel, Lock Key,
Hmm.
Lock and Key, right?
Yep.
And I was rereading it and I was like, and I was looking at the pacing and the way it was structured. I was like, you could tell this was meant to be like a graphic novel as opposed to single issues, because the way it was written was like, it didn't flow like single issues. You know what I mean? Because with a single issues, you have to keep their interest, so
Yeah.
they want to buy next issue. So the way you write it, is the flow is a little different. But when you know you have a lot of time and space, like that someone is expecting to sit down and read like, like more than 50 pages in one
Hmm.
sitting, you kind of pace it differently. And I was looking at it and I was like, man, you can, like, instead of squeezing things into 6 panels, you can do 4 panels.
Yeah.
You could do so many pages without dialogue. It's like,
You
and
can
so you
add a
feel,
lot more art to it.
yep. And you feel freer, like you feel feels like less constricting, right? Because you're not following that, oh, I gotta keep this up. But you establish a different kind of like pacing to it. So that's what I wanted with Kisha, and I was like, I'd rather do that. And then at the same time too, I saw, just marketing wise, like, and what people want in terms of books, the trades sell better than the floppies, you know.
Hmm.
Not to say that, there's not a market for floppies, but when I'm at cons, I notice like my Crescent City Monsters trade outsells the single issues, maybe like four or 5 to 1.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
They
So
want everything right there in the pot.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, and if you have a graphic novel that's easier to put in bookstores than a floppy would be, floppies are impossible in
Oh
bookstores.
yeah.
you know. So there's certain advantages to it. There's a lot. The only disadvantage is that it takes a little bit more time. That's why it seemed like years since the book came out, since the first posting of Kisha.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. It seemed like a couple years, but the thing is, also in that same breath, was it aside from you basically putting this storyline together, Keisha took a life of his own because pretty much she became a character within what was it, Blankos Block Party, right?
Yeah, that was surprising. I was just Keisha, I was posting stuff about Keisha on social media, and I had met Ernest Spicer on LinkedIn, right? And he's this really like he's like a tech guru, and he's got his hands in different um technical spaces, right? And one of them is NFT projects. And so
Hmm.
he approached me. He was like, "Yo, we should do an NFT project." Da da da. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And so, we were kind of exploring some things, and he was reaching out to certain people. And so I'm working on Kisha, not even really completed the book. Maybe we're not even a quarter of the way through, but we've got some good artwork, and people are like, wow, this looks great. And we get into contact with some of the people at Mythical Games, and well, Ernest does, and he sets it up, and I talk to them, and I'm thinking like to myself, and they're like, yo, we're interested, so we want to do a drop. So we're gonna do a drop where your character Kisha is in a video game. And I was like, word, okay. And at first I was like, this is too good to be true.
Right.
I was like, there's not a comic book. I spoke to them. I was like, the comic book is coming out, and at that time, believe it or not, Kisha was only going to be like maybe I think 50 pages though.
Hmm.
But now it's like 72.
72.
Yeah. At that time I told him, yeah, it should be ready by April. We're gonna do a Kickstarter then, and they're like, okay, cool, let's do something for Black History Month. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But I'm thinking like in my mind, like, this, I was like, there's, it's just like drawings out there, and the stories out there,
Hmm.
people are have a thing, but I didn't think like they were gonna actually this was gonna happen, because a lot of when you do this for a while, a lot of people approach you and about projects and things that like, hey, let's do this and thing. Like 90% of it doesn't happen, right? So
Right, right.
so it's like, so you get used to that. You get used to people approaching you, talking about stuff, and you're like, yeah, okay, let's do this. And then you're used to like just not happening, right? So I downloaded the game. I was like, let me check this out. Let me see how a drop happens. I was like, yo, this is kind of dope. They had a drop with Marathon. What's his name? Nipsey Hustle's company.
Oh,
What's the
Marathon
full name?
Clothing Company.
Yeah, Marathon Clothing Company.
Hmm.
So they had a drop with that. So like, they had like the marathon outfits that you could put on your characters and whatnot. So I was like, okay, that's what's up. I was like, this, they're doing some cool drops. So I was like, all right, cool. So I'm, we going, back and forth on the contracts, and I'm thinking it's not gonna happen because, like I said, you're used to these things not happening. But then, you know, um, I'm talking to them more and more, and I'm like, yo, it looks like it's gonna happen. And
Yeah.
so yeah, then they, I'm still like, whatever. But then it wasn't until they actually put it on their website, Keisha drop happened in February. I was like, oh snap. I was like, I was like, I was like, this is for real. So yeah, so then Mythical Games, they did the Keisha drop. And it was amazing because the Blankos community themselves, they came out, they were like, yo, this is a dope character. And then, the black community and Blankos came out, they're like, yo, a black chick character, yo, we know we got support. So, they came out and it was like dope. So, the drop was fun and it was successful. So Blankos, what they did is they donated their portion. It was like $40,000 to a STEM program, NOLA STEM, that's run by Mr. Doctor, what's his name, Doctor Mac, right? And he, just a side note, he's the older brother to Anthony Mac, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's Anthony Mac's brother, and his brother, Dr. Mac, runs a STEM program in New Orleans because that's where their family's from, which kind of falls in line with everything.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like 2 and 2 go. Look,
Yeah.
You got a book about horror in New Orleans, donating to a STEM program in New Orleans. Look, it coexists.
Yeah, and it's just like it just worked out. So it's like one of those things that seemed like it was meant to be. And I was just kind of glad to be a part of that. I was like, oh, that's really dope, man. And the fact that Kisha, a young character like her, is part of something like a STEM NOLA program. You know what I mean? Super dope.
Man, that's excellent, man. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So aside from the intricacies of basically both titles that you put out there, or even with Villainous as well with TJ, within your own 2 books, there's been a consistent partnership, Gian Carlo Bernal. Could you describe that consistency? Because when you guys put out Crescent City Monsters for the first time, not only did you get recognized for your writing, but Gian got highly noticed, of course, as well for the artwork that he put it within these pages. Was this book in particular with Kisha? Could it coexist without him? It just had to be him.
Yeah, it had to be Gian. It's funny that yeah, that's a good question. So it's funny. So when I was like, okay, I didn't really want to stop Crescent City Monsters, right? Because people were like, oh, when's issue 5 coming out? When's issue 5 coming out? I'm like, all right, we gotta do issue 5 and start. And I just want to keep continuing Crescent City Monsters, right? So the original plan was like, all right, I'm gonna have Gian keep doing Crescent City Monsters, and then I'm gonna do Kisha Demon Eater. And believe it or not, the one thing I was thinking of was like Kisha Demon Eater was gonna be more like anime style.
Okay.
Like more like cartoony, well, a mixture of like American cartoon and anime, right? Because I was like, I wanted to appeal to that audience, that anime audience. But in terms of like kind of like lean towards this style, but not directly. I'm not an anime person, so I know I'm not gonna write anime stuff, right?
Right.
Because I've read anime, I should say manga. I've read manga stuff, and I'm familiar with like the way they write and certain things. I don't write in that style, and so I'm not gonna try to write in that style. But at the same time, I wanted to be able to kind of appeal to the audience. So when they see Kisha, they take some elements of manga into my story, right? Visually, that is, not writing style really, but more of the visual aspects. But then as I was looking for an artist, it was like really difficult because I was like, okay, it's like I like the manga style, but art, but there's certain things certain levels of like comic book quality, not to this manga drawing, but like if you ever seen some of mangas, not all of them, some of them they'll do like the lazy thing where they don't put a nose, they'll just do only an eye and
yeah.
like some of the things like you're like, oh man, it's like, no, you couldn't get away with this in the regular comic book. Not this in manga. But some manga artists are dope though. Like every page and panel is dope, right? but then some of them are like they be taking some like seem like they take shortcuts. But so I wanted that like manga and cartoon style, and I couldn't find the right artist, and I was like I was getting impatient. I was like, yo, I was like, I need this done as quickly as possible. I was like, all right, Gian, let's put Crescent City Monsters as a whole. I need you for Kisha. And I was like, and I wanted to make sure he was okay with it because Gian loves drawing Crescent City Monsters, and I didn't want him to be like, oh man, why he's putting me on this book about some Kisha Demon Eater about some little girl. I was like, you know, um, but when I explained Gian the story, he was like, and he read the script, he was like, oh, okay. He's like, I could flow with this, and
Right.
I can tell because when he gives me back his work, it's the same thought and quality that he puts into Crescent City Monsters, and so I could tell he really enjoys the story. He gets first dibs at the script, so when he read the end of the script, he was like, oh, okay. He's like, that's dope ending. So yeah, I think you guys gonna like it. If Gian likes it.
That's so if we wanted to talk about it, two horror stories basically in your bag. If there was another genre that you wanted to dive into next, you touched on sci-fi with Villainous, but like, is there any other genre that maybe you wanted to tackle for yourself for Dream Fury Comics?
Yeah. So yeah, another good question. So like I still want to do one more sci-fi because I
Okay.
got this sci-fi idea that I really want to do. I just need to work it out in my head. And then there's I'm not sure. I guess you can call it like a mystery genre.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's the right. I guess you. It's called like noir. I forgot the something noir, but it's like a detective story, really.
Okay.
So
Like I guess like a crime noir
right,
type of
exactly.
mystery novel. Okay.
That's what I was looking for. That's the exact word I was looking for. So, um, so get this. So it's gonna be based on this character called Ace Harlem. So have you ever heard of Ace Harlem?
No.
Okay, so I was one day I was doing research on some old like old comic book characters, right?
Hmm.
And so it turns out that there was this company before there was Milestone. There was this comic book company in the 1940s called All Negro Comics. It
Mm.
was all black writers and black artists. Same thing like what you had, in the 80s with Milestone, right?
Yeah.
So it was back in the 1940s, right? And they had created this company called All Negroes Comic, and unfortunately they only did one issue, but the one issue was like an anthology of different characters, and
Mm.
one of the characters was called Ace Harlem. And so it turns out that Ace Harlem is public domain. So I was like, word, okay. I was like, you know what? And I was like, yo, I wanna revive this character and take that mantle, like what they started in 1940s, and kind of just pick it up
Wow.
and redo that. So um that's one of the stories that I'm still working out in my head. And usually when I say working out in my head, it means that I haven't figured out, like, I know who the characters are and some maybe of the general themes, but I haven't figured out where I want the story to go. So until I could figure that out, it's hard for me to write
Yeah.
um the story, because I do a lot of it in my head before I even write the story. So yeah, so Ace Harlem, the crime noir story. So I wanted to kind of pick that up, and just because it's got that history behind it,
Yeah.
I think that would be super dope, to do something like that. Just pick something up that, and this is 1940s we're talking about. It's
Right.
not, this is like
Yeah. So like you're basically picking out like a Black Dick Tracy.
yeah, exactly. So and figuring out, I got the general plot to it, but figuring out what I want to do with the character, the aesthetics. Like, you know, when you look at the comic book, the original comic book, he's more like, you know, like you said, like kind of like Dick Tracy. You know, I'm thinking, do I want to keep that? Do I want to keep it lighthearted, where, you know, like a 12-year-old could pick it up and enjoy it?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I want it to make it gritty? You know, you know, and I'm the type writer, like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't help it, but I always lean to the gritty side. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yep.
mean? So, so, so I'm like, but you know, I would really like it to have like a mass appeal, like just to a broad audience as much as possible. You know, which,
Right.
you know, is not easy to do, but you know, that's where I want to take it. So figuring out how to do that is a little tricky, but you know, that's the long version of the long version to your answer to the question. So
Bro, but I'm just saying, like, what a way to think outside the box. Like, you could take into effect that you could tackle any IP that you may have wanted to, and you decide to like take a very scenic route into a very old title from the 1940s, an
yeah,
anthology in that, and even pull out the character outside of that. And it just so happened to be public domain, which would give you carte blanche to actually start formulating a story behind it.
yeah, I can just pretty much, you know, take that story and either just totally, you know, revamp it, or just kind of like use the original as a basis to it, right? And then to me, one of the important things too is like the fact that, like, you know, if this story does come out and, you know, it does gain the audience, you know, the acknowledgement, like, yes, this story came from, you know, a comic book company that started in 1940s. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we were doing, you know, Black people were doing comic books in the 1940s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So people could understand that, you know, like that long ago, we were trying to do our own thing. You know, it started before, you know, no disrespect to Milestone, but it even started before Milestone. You
Long
know what I mean?
before. Lord.
Yeah, so it's like, and I want people to understand that, you know, that we've been trying, and that we've been succeeding in terms of trying to do things and provide content in our vision. You know, that we've not always been waiting for a seat at the table. You know, that we've always been um trying to create our own table and bring
Yeah,
our own
pretty
chairs.
much.
You know, so, and it's been happening for a while. So that's important for me, so that way, you know, when people understand that, oh well, this character's got history, you know. And I'm not really big, like, normally I would never like take a character and try to rewrite it, you know. That's not my thing, because I want to always create my own character, something new,
Yeah.
something fresh. But you know, just the idea that that history behind these characters is so appealing that it's something that makes me want to write in a different genre.
Mm.
You know.
So as far as the company standpoint right now, you got Crescent City Monsters already has a volume 1 trade that's already out there to the public. People are happily
Mhm,
awaiting on issue 5.
mhm.
You got Kisha Demon Eater, which is pretty much in graphic novel terms, you're going to give us 72 pages of a volume 1 that's pretty much going to drop in our hands within probably like the middle or end of the summer. And
Mhm.
then what else this year for you?
Then I'm just gonna go sleep for the rest
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
about to
day.
say
I'm
you
just
Rip
gonna
Van
relax.
Winkle for the rest of the year. Come on, man.
You know, it's funny. You know, I wish I could do more, but you know, time is limited because this is not, you know, like my full time job
Yeah,
was. You know, I'd just be like, I'd be trying to produce, because you know, like every creator, you know, have so many stories that I wanna produce, um, and so many ideas that I want to get out. Um, in fact, like one of the ideas, and I don't really mention this a lot, but before Crescent City well, when I was trying to decide what story I was going to do,
hmm,
right? There was two stories I was trying to decide between, right? One was Crescent City Monsters, and the second one was a story about Harriet Tubman.
mm,
And so I was like trying to figure out like which one I would do, right? I was like, Harriet Tubman, or should I do Crescent City Monsters? Um, but you know, in the end, I ended up deciding to do Crescent City Monsters, I guess, which is a good thing. because you had of David Carlson's doing Harriet
Right.
Tubman on Demon Slayer, so that would have been like
Y'all
two
been
Harriet
sitting there.
books, yeah, the same thing. Which it would have been fine though, because like my writing style is that gritty style, so
Mhm.
it would be in that same vein. So it would be like a gritty style Harriet Tubman thing, and then his is more of that like uh comic book character, kind of like swashbuckling.
Yeah.
I can't believe I said swashbuckling, but
Yeah, you did.
so, all that ninja vampire killing kind of feel to it. It's fun. His work is exciting.
Mhm.
So and that's why it's so popular. So it would have been like two different kind of approaches. So
It's true.
but I'm still gonna come out with that story. It might just take a little bit of time.
All right. So what would you say? How would you feel? What is your feeling right now for the state of Black indie comics in 2022?
Man, I think it's great. You know, I think we have so many great creators out there. It's like that's just like raising the bar, and it's good to see because it feels like I'm part of a movement, right?
Hmm.
Because it's like it's not even me, that's like it's not just me doing great work. It's so many other creators. It feels like this is like the golden era of hip hop, where
Right.
like the era where you had like different styles of hip hop. You could have Tribe Called Quest along with like more of the hard, NWA guys. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? There was an era where like a lot of different types of rap existed at the same time.
Hmm. Yeah.
And all of it
Different
was
lanes.
dope. Yeah, it was like
You
it
had
was like
lanes. You had the party cats. You had like
mhm,
like Kid and Play, Rob
mhm,
Bass, like those types. Then you had,
mhm,
like you said, NWA. You had your West Coast gangster
mhm.
rap. You had your conscious folks, if you want to call them conscious, with like Mos Def, Tribe, De La. There was different lanes to it. I mean, even in some of the photos that I see that you guys have when y'all show up at cons together, it's like y'all like dip to the side, like all take these group photos and everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great, you know.
Yeah, I love those group photos because it's like, yes, it feels like you're taking like a shot, like I said, of like people in the golden age of hip hop. Because back then it wasn't obvious to you that gangster rap was gonna be like the major form of rap, right?
Right.
It was one of the rap genres of rap, or the subgenres of rap. It wasn't like that was it and nothing else was popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and not to say that comic books are gonna end up in that direction, but it's just to say it feels like we're in that era right now where we have so many great creators, so many different styles. You know what I mean? Some creators are creating superhero comic books, the
Yeah.
stuff that you love as a kid and even as an adult. And then some people are creating, fantasy like Sebastian with, his
Yeah.
books. And sci-fi stuff, like Robert Jeffrey, he's killing it with all that sci-fi
Hmm.
books, and it's like, and my boy Greg Anderson, Elise, he's doing his thing. He covers everything. I think
Yeah.
he does.
Yeah, he
He does
does.
he does sci-fi, some like noir stuff, of course the supernatural horror stuff too. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's like so many great, writers and creators out there that I just feel like I'm happy to be like a part of it, you know what I mean? So I think right now, it's just the beginning. Hopefully we inspire a lot of people, to start creating, especially some of the younger folks. I hope they see what we're doing and they're like, yo, okay, because like you had Rakim, right? But then, after Rakim came the likes of, Nas and Jay-Z and Tupac, so
Yeah.
always building
There
on
was
top
always
of
another
greatness.
wave,
Yeah,
wave of
yeah.
creators that were pretty much out there ready to just take the reins. They're like, you guys can go ahead and get old. It's fine. We got it.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I want to be looking back and hopefully my stuff is still hot, but I still want like the young guys to be like you creating some dope stuff that on levels that we were like, yo, okay, you know what I mean? You know, that's what's up. You know, so that would be cool to see. That'd be super dope if we can, you know, inspire the next generation.
For sure, man. Bro, I appreciate you doing this with me. I look forward. I know we got like what, three more days left in the campaign. So I wish you the best, and I can't wait to get the book in my hands. And I'm pretty sure that everybody else will be too.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on the show, man. It's always good chatting up with you, man. Sometimes I don't know. So the questions you ask, I'll be revealing a little bit more than I want to.
Hey, look, like I said, I just read between the lines, and all of a sudden I find out some stuff. That's where my questions come from. So I appreciate that.
Because I try not to reveal too much even on the interviews, because I want them when they read it be like, oh snap, you know, this is more than what he said it was. You know what I mean? So when they read it, they're like surprised. It's like, you know, when you see a good movie trailer, you're like, yo, this looks dope, I want to check it out.
Yeah.
But then you see the movie, you're like, yo, this was better than what the trailer review, you know, kind of thing. Like, you know, so I try to treat interviews like trailers, but you be making me too much of my trailers, man.
That's my bad, bro. Word, man. So thank you again. This has definitely been dope. So from James Grandmaster Facts voice, Newton Lilavois with Dream Fury Comics, creator of Kisha Demon Eater. Go get that out right now in the last few days of this campaign. And we are out.